Okay, in the interest of starting on time and ending on time, let's get started, I think. Welcome, everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces. My name's Catherine with the Media Education Lab, and today we are hosting um, some experts from a couple of different institutions. They'll introduce themselves to you, I think. We're excited to hear from Carol Clymer, Kristen Hodworm, Esther Prinz, and Beth McLean on their project that included both adapting and disseminating the Talk With Me toolkits. So, um, we'll get into that in a moment, but like I said, in the meantime, I see people introducing themselves in the chat. Continue to do so. And we always like to start by checking in as well. So if you feel compelled, along with your name and when you're calling, where you're calling in from, feel free to drop in a single phrase or word that describes how you're doing so far today. It's Monday, it's the beginning of the week. Depending on where you are in the world, it might be early in the morning. So how are you doing so far? We'll check in with each other. Um, and then in just a minute, I'll turn it over. We are going to be hearing from these experts on the Talk With Me toolkits, which were initially developed for family literacy. They've now been revised to be more user-friendly and more engaging. They were pilot tested with two cohorts and were found effective in both libraries and in homeschooling settings. And so they'll tell you all about this in today's webinar with a focus on pedagogy and media literacy. So thanks for being here, everyone, and go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carol Clymer, and we're going to talk about these wonderful digital tools for promoting caregiver and child interactions. Next slide, please. And this was a project that was funded by the Institute of Museum and Library Services. Next slide, please. And our agenda will give you a little bit of an overview of the project and the objectives of the project. We'll talk about an evaluation that we did related to the Talk With Me toolkits. And one of the things that we learned was how versatile they were. So we'll talk about that for a little bit. And then we'll jump right into the toolkits and take a closer look at them. And I think we're going to put a link to the toolkits in the chat so you can be looking at them. Then we'll have a discussion, and if you have any questions, feel free to just put those in the chat and we'll handle them as we go along. Next slide, please. So this is our project team. We have a big project team. They're not all here today, but Family Place Libraries had Kristen and Tracy Listella and Sophia Surlis McPhillips and Caroline Mandaro, and the Smithsonian Office of Educational Technology. We worked very closely with Philippa Rappaport and Darren Milligan, whose name should be up there too, because he's a big partner of ours. And then from the Goodling Institute for Research and Family Literacy, I'm Carol Clymer. Beth McLean is here. Esther Prince is here. Our colleagues Heather Toomey Zimmerman and our graduate assistants Mai Atya and Ping Hu are not here, but we all worked together. We had a great, wonderful partnership for this project. Next slide, please. So the Family Place Libraries is a national program. It was established by Middle Country Public Library, where Kristen works, in 1997. And it was really an initiative for early childhood information, parent education, early literacy, socialization, and family support. Next slide, please. And most of you, I'm sure, know the Smithsonian Institution. That's the largest museum system in the world, and they have an Office of Educational Technology, which creates these wonderful digital educational resources. It's curated by Smithsonian educators and shared with the public school and other educational communities. And they have this great digital platform, the Learning Lab, where the Talk With Me toolkits are housed, and you'll see what a wonderful resource they are. Next slide, please. And the Goodling Institute is at Penn State University in the College of Education. Our core a topic of concentration is family literacy. We have 4 different areas of our mission that are all interrelated. We do research, professional development, policy, and advocacy. And we actually run a family literacy program called the Family Pathways Program. So we provide direct service as well, which informs all the other 3 things that we do. Next slide, please. And the IMLS grant, this is what we did. As we've said, we adapted and evaluated these free toolkits. We did it in the context and for library engagement efforts. We used a design-based research process. We had 2 cohorts of 6 weeks of implementation. In between the 2 cohorts, we looked at the evaluation data and then revised the TMTs. I think we did it, revised them 3 times totally when it was all said and done. And we worked with 4 libraries across the country, the Cuyahoga Public Library in Cleveland, the Hillsborough Library in Hillsborough, Texas, the Middle Country Public Library in Center Reach, and the York County Libraries in York, PA. Martin Library. Next slide, please. And I think
Yep, this is where
that's
I jump in. So the objectives of the TMTs are to foster and strengthen discussion between caregivers and children to promote children's language and literacy development. Another objective is to introduce adult caregivers and children to an array of Smithsonian artifacts, including captivating videos, real-world photographs, intriguing paintings, and other artworks. And you'll be able to see examples of these in a minute when Beth walks us through a toolkit. Next. Okay, so this shows features of the TMTs and what the intended outcomes are. So the goal is for the TMTs to foster children's language and literacy development through vocabulary, conversations, critical thinking, reading comprehension, and so on. The TMTs are a theme toolkit that supports this through caregiver-child interactions. So the TMT features include conversation prompts. Each slide has suggested questions that can help initiate and guide conversations, which is, helpful for caregivers who don't quite know where to start. They have integrated resources, so artwork, photographs, videos, etc. And they're all organized about a theme, which again, Beth will show you in a minute. So you're looking at the topic through art, through videos, through various other components. One of those components is the hands-on activities and the books. So each TMT ends with activities and books to further learning and to prompt interactive activities. So it's not passive learning, it's not passively consuming digital media, it's active engagement with high quality resources. So what the components of language and literacy development that this leads to include vocabulary, and you'll note that the TMTs do include vocabulary words that are related to the theme. The vocabulary can also help with reading comprehension. Then there's also conversational turn taking with their caregiver in particular. Critical thinking, you'll notice that the prompts are based on the See, Think, Wonder routines from Project Zero, which was developed at Harvard. Increased knowledge about whatever the topic is of the TMT, and of course, oral expression as they're, talking with their caregiver, siblings, librarians, and so on. Next slide. Okay, so we collected a lot of data before and after each the cohorts. The caregivers completed a pre-survey and a post-survey, and this asked about ways that they use language and literacy on their own and with their children. Caregivers and librarians also completed satisfaction surveys after each of the 6 TMTs in their unit. Then at the end of each cohort, we did a focus group with caregivers and a separate focus group with librarians and also individual librarian interviews. So we had 42 families in cohort 1, 24 in cohort 2 for a total of 66. Next slide. We could do a whole session just on the evaluation highlights. So this is really just a small snapshot. So the quantitative analysis showed that there were statistically significant increases in interactive reading, meaning that when parents are reading with their children, they're stopping to ask questions, they're pointing at pictures. It's more dialogic rather than just, straight up reading. Also an increase in the frequency that they read to their child, greater print literacy practices, and more frequent playful interactions. And this comes from 43 caregivers who completed both pre and post and attended at least 4 out of the 6 sessions. We also got a lot of positive information from the qualitative data that we collected. This data showed that there was positive engagement with the TMTs. So caregivers and children were talking together, asking questions, pointing at the slides, enjoying themselves. The questions included in the TMT also stimulated conversation and introduced new vocabulary. And caregivers really liked having a specific time when they could interact with their kids, apart, from the busyness and stresses at home, and learn about new topics together. And finally, the librarians appreciated how versatile the TMTs were. They could be used in family engagement programming and after-school programming and art programs and so on. Next. Yes, and we learned just how versatile the TMTs are. They, in addition to library family engagement programming, they can be used in adult education high school equivalency classes. So for example, you can work on vocabulary, you can work on science. For example, the word larynx comes up in one of the TMTs. They can also be used in English language classes for adults, learning different vocabulary or practicing conversation, listening, etc. In family literacy programs, you can use the TMTs to integrate the 3 or 4 components. So you can use the same topic in adult education and then thread it through parent education and interactive literacy activities. Elementary classes and media centers could integrate the TMTs into different subject areas, such as nature. There's a TMT on who lives in the trees. It could be used in music. There's a TMT that features sounds of animals. It could be used in art. There's a TMT on light and shadow. Or even in math, there's a TMT on shapes, lines, and patterns. And we learned through our project that the TMTs are also popular among families who homeschool. They can use the TMTs to supplement their homeschool curriculum. For instance, one of the sites, there were some homeschooling families, and they integrated the unit on our bodies into their homeschooling. And let's see, were there any questions that were not answered? Okay, yes, I think we addressed them all. So Beth will now walk us through the Talk With Me toolkits.
Hello, welcome everyone. So we're going to take a deeper dive into the Talk With Me toolkits. I'm going to go through 2 of them in greater detail, but we'll go through it and they're all a lot alike. So the format of a TMT is pretty much the same. I'm not sure what I have. Anyway, there's a title page, which obviously talks about, the title, how to use the TMT, because there's icons and there's buttons to use to go through it, zoom in, zoom out, things like that. So it's about how to use that. We learned that the how to use the TMT page was great the first time you used it. Then they already knew, so they kind of just skipped over it. Then there's a look or watch. So you look at images or artifacts or photographs, and then there's videos also about the same topic. And each of those the images or videos have the vocabulary and question prompts, which I'll show you in a minute. Then there's a playtime. There's activities that include instructions and a list of supplies related to the activities. These are often for, for younger kids, but it also is more, learning about that particular topic and practicing what you learned. 3 related children's books are listed as well. And then there's a slide with additional activities and additional books, which are again related to the topic. And the additional books are broken up into a greater age range of 3 to 4, 5 to 6, and 7 to 8. So that they're in case, for at least for us, when librarians often brought children of different age levels and they would want to take them home and read them to their kids. So that was an opportunity. Okay, so these are the 12 TMTs. We did 6 of them for the actual cohorts and the reviews, and then we did 6 more after the final cohort, and because we had an idea of what was liked, what wasn't, what they really appreciated in it, and we modeled the same revisions off of the additional 6 as well. So there's a QR code to get you to the page for the 12 toolkits. But like I said, they're all modeled very similarly. It might be slightly different, where there might be an artifact, a video, an artifact in a video, or there's only artifacts and then or images, and then there's the videos after that. I'm going to move on. If I need to go back to the QR code, I can. But okay. So we're going to go first through light and shadow. What you're seeing on this particular slide is the entire TMT, but when you go online, it won't be that way. But you can see that, that's the title and the how to use, and then there's images, videos, and then there's games. But we're going to go into it. I got to go here. Let's hope it comes up. All right, so here's art, light, and shadows. There's a little blurb always at the beginning about it for you to know, and then you go, and then there are all the slides. So I'm going to go to the title page, and you can see here's, shadows are fascinating to young children. And again, it is definitely appropriate for adults. They were made and for children 5 to 8 years old, but they are so versatile in an adult learning class. They can definitely be used. Lots of great vocabulary we learned. So, and then there's the how to use page. It tells you the zoom in, zoom out, things like that. And Kristen, if there are questions, let me know, because I'm not looking at the chat at all.
You're okay. You're good. So
okay. All right, so this is, as you look at the following images, think about where the light is coming from and how do you know, and then find the shadows in the images. It's always a prompt of a question for conversation between children and adults. So the first one is, if you see, we have a piece of art, interior with 3 pairs. So if you want to go just to see the art, you get rid of the paper clip and it brings it up, and you can still zoom in and zoom out for the art. And then I want to go back to my questions. And it says interior. So if it's a highlighted word, then there's the vocabulary. Light, explains what light is. And again, this is science, or it's just information. Shadow, a darker part. And then we have questions here. Where's the light coming from? How do you know? What do you think is making the light? Do you think it's a cold day or a warm day outside? Why do you think that? And again, as Esther said, it's based on the Project Zero, See, Think, Wonder, which it focuses mostly on, right, because it's what do you see, what do you think, and what do you wonder? And we modeled a lot of the questions after that, just to get the open-ended, the questions, so that there's time for thinking and critical thinking and ideas of what's going on. What other shadows do you see? Can you look at the creases in the tablecloth? And what do you think makes creases? And we have that there. Now, if you wanted to learn more about the actual piece of art, you go to the information tab, and it tells you where it's located and a little bit more about the artist. Some are better than others. Some don't say as much as you would hope. And then there's the link as to where it is. So there's a lot of rich information. And then you can go on, and there's more here. Again, there's another question. This is a piece of art, San Francisco West Side Ridge, and you can see all the vocabulary. And again, they're highlighted. And then you can zoom in on the picture and look at different places. Where do you think the light is coming from? And again, you look at the shadows and you get the idea. talk about the shadows. And also it has horizontal, vertical, rectangle, which can be geometry, which can be lines. And those words will come up again in the toolkit. What is it? The lines one. I can't remember it off the top of my head. I should. But there they are. So it just kind of gives a lot of ideas. And there's lots of details in this picture. There's a person. If you go way over here, there's one of the questions is, do you see the person in the picture? So there's a lot of fun things to really discover in this particular art. So then there's more. Here's another one, more questions. And then we go to what are sources of light? And what we learned is this was a very appealing idea were some of the videos, because it really brought to life the ideas of what we were talking about. And one of the ones that was particularly liked was one about shadows and translucent, transparent, and opaque. And these are words here. And we found from our surveys and things, and from the focus groups that we did, the kids used these words all week long, and they kept talking about it and wanting to test it and see what it is. Do I have time to show the video, or should I? What do we think? Yep. Okay. So I'm going to go. I kind of brought it up here, so we could show the video. Where is it? Okay. I don't know if you can see it. Oop.
You can't hear it.
You can't hear it? Oh, see, I think.
Beth, I think you need to stop sharing, and then in Zoom, when you go to share, you have to
I'm sorry.
select
Wait. I gotta stop it.
Yeah,
Stop sharing.
and then
Okay,
when you
sorry.
click to share your screen in Zoom, you need to click that little box that says share the sound.
Oh boy, should I go back and do that, or should we just move on? What it's doing is it's showing different objects for opaque, transparent, and translucent. And I apologize for not getting that ready. But they gave a really good. I mean, you could still do it without the sound, because you kind of get an idea. Should I just show it? I'm not sure. Well, but I mean, I could narrate it. I've seen it enough times. But he talks about it.
You can just show it.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking. So you can see that he's showing a transparent thing, and the kids like to see that and the idea. And the plastic lid is what is it? Translucent. Can you hear me talking? Okay. I'm sorry about that. But it's a beautiful example of and so a lot of the videos are like that in the things. And then the last one will be leaves a shadow. So anyway. All right, I'm going to stop it because it's not exciting without the words. Okay, so sorry about that, but that's a kind of, there's an example of a video, and then the next video is how we see colors, and kind of more of the shadows and the retina and things like that. Then we move to find the shadows, and this one has this has a little bit extra activities, but you kind of guess and talk about what the shadows you see, and they can do this at home and do it other ways and show different objects and hand. And then there's activities to choose from. These are activities related to shadows. So you would play with a flashlight, and this was really, the moving of the hands and playing on the walls with the shadows and the lights. And so there's kind of able to see where the light comes from, and then the whole shadow idea. And then make a sundial. Now I'm going to go, if I push this big square, I'm going to go back all the way to all of them. But you can see the different activities across here. And then there's 3 books, Read Together, Moon Bear, Read Together, Shadow Chasers, A Rebellious Shadow, Smoot, A Rebellious Shadow. And then this one has the more books, which I was talking about, which you can check out at the library, and they can get more, or you're in a program. And these are great again for adult ed, because they're their levels, and they can read and practice their reading with their kids and things, and then a couple more activities to do at home. Are there any questions about that? But that's an example of one of them. No? Okay. And then what's my time? 12:26. Okay, then we have Who Lives at the Shore, which is also a super fun one, which talks about, and this is one that we made after the initial 6. We can go to this. Oh, we'll skip that verification. I know it's good. Okay. So here's Who Lives at the Shore. And again, you can see it follows the same format. We have the title page, Seashore's fun place for young children. And then we have the how to use, but again, same exact one, because we felt that if a parent picks up one, they can pick up another to make it easy. So this is a video. This is one that starts with a video first to talk about sand and the differences between sand and coral and all different kinds, because it kind of sets up for who lives at the shore, because there's sand at the shore. And there's a lot of vocabulary words that can be, challenging, but I think the kids really like the idea of being challenged and learning new things and then talking about them. So, and it talks about the different purposes of sand. Then we get into the artifacts. And this is a mole crab. It's an actual photograph of one. And it talks about all the different, and again, you have a tremendous number of vocabulary because there's so much to talk about with it, with the ideas. And then this is a color print of a great white heron. And again, you can go to the eye and learn more about it. And there's the vocabulary and the questions, and it talks about, what they like to eat. And then you always have an answer. What else do you think they might like to eat along the shore? And then we tried to provide an answer because the kids and the parents were like, well, I don't know the answer to it. So please, can you add things to it? And that's something we responded to in the surveys because it was important to learn more. And that's how they got the background knowledge for reading, for comprehension. And then this is one of the examples of where it's an image of video, so to kind of get greater depth for the learning. So you'd get questions about, say, a postage stamp that had a harbor seal. And in other ones, the postage stamp created, ways to go, that you can use it to write a letter in the mail, and let's practice with a postage stamp. And then there's the video about harbor seals. So I think I won't go any further, but again, you can see there's activities. This is artwork that's a glass, piece of glass. So we tried to make a lot of variety in the type of art that was seen in it. And then there's a video about the hermit crab.
There's a question in the chat.
Yeah.
It's saying, is there any TMT section containing P4C and then in parentheses philosophy for children for children's critical thinking skills?
No, not specifically, but it's more of just the critical thinking as the questions and the conversations and what's going on, with between the parents and the children, and the learning the vocabulary words and the questions are a springboard, so they're more for parents or if you're in elementary school and a teacher's running it, to create and expand and create more critical thinking that way. I'm not sure I answered the question, but I think the answer is no.
But Beth, I would add that in our evaluations, that I think a lot of the parents and the librarians both said that there was critical thinking going on. So they do stimulate that. There's a lot of rich content there, and the videos help it too, I think, because they're so good.
Well, they bring it to life. The ideas and the artwork, they definitely bring it to life. So, all right. So, but that's this one, and I guess there are 10 other ones to really explore and look at, and they're really, really interesting to go for. So my time is up. Was there any other questions, or are we good? Yes. Okay. Kristen, take it away.
That was it. Yep. Okay, so actually, no, I'm sorry. There is one more question that just came through. How much time is each section intended for, say, in the library? I understand that it is meant to be continued at home, but for my first try with a family, how much time should I request?
The library programs were ran from 1 to 2 hours, I believe. And
Yep.
but that included eating, they ate things and that they did the activities and they read the books. That included from beginning to end for the whole TMT. And the fun thing about a TMT is you don't have to use every single slide, every single video, every single activity. You can pick and choose what is most relevant for what you want to do, and maybe split it up into different times. You do some of the art and then do some of the videos, so that I think it varies dependent on the family. In the TMTs, we learned that if it's a program with a number of families, that they would look at the art, talk together about the objects, and then the whole group would get together to watch the video, so that because otherwise there's 10 computers working with the videos and it was very loud. So they would watch the video and then go back to their pairs, the parent child, caregiver child pairs, and talk about the questions and things. But I think you can say an hour, but again, you can tweak it to whatever fits best with your context. Right? Anything else? Okay.
Yep. Okay, so now we're going to have time for discussion. It looks like we will be breaking up into breakout rooms, I believe. And we're going to have about 10 to 15 minutes to discuss these following questions. How could you use the TMTs in your program context, wherever you are working with families? And then also the TMTs have 4 parts: artifacts, which are the artwork and photos, videos, activities, and then book recommendations by age. Is there one part that seems most relevant for your specific context, and why? So you will be selecting one person in your group to briefly summarize the discussion for when we come back to the whole group. Yes, Carol? I can't hear you, Carol. You're muted.
Sorry, I thought I unmuted myself. I think the group's small enough that we should just do this together and not go into breakout groups.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we only have 4 other
Yeah.
people.
So we can just do it as a large group.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so we can start a discussion with how could you use the Talk With Me toolkits in your program context, depending on what avenue you work in. Would anybody like to share or put in the chat?
Julia, you're on mute.
I swear, I tried and I saw the slash go away and I started to talk, but you're right, it came back. Am I still unmuted?
We
You're
can hear you.
unmuted now.
Okay, good. I am a volunteer for Literacy Pittsburgh, so I don't have a program, but I volunteer with various people, and one of the people I tutor is a single mom who has 4 children. And so I was thinking if I enabled her to know about this, that this could be very valuable for her. In listening, though, I have to tell you, my heart is beating fast. I'm getting excited because next week I am going to visit my girlfriend who has an 8-year-old child, a little girl who has autism and is very functional, but her reading skills are not there. And she's always talking to me about how I have such a high IQ. And I've told her no one has ever tested my IQ. But if you're interested in IQ, let's build yours. And I'm thinking, here we go. So that's why I was asking about how much time. And I got a good answer. Thank you. So
I
that's
love
what I'm up to.
I love that. That's a wonderful use for them. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Julia.
You're welcome.
Oh, we do have something in the chat as well. George is saying, it sure is usable in ESL classes. I was interested in knowing if the videos can be used to teach vocabulary, pronunciation, enhance listening skills. So it will be good if you can play one video with the audio on. Okay, so
Okay.
we're gonna do.
I'm going to stop sharing and I'll
Yes.
figure that out and you guys keep the discussion going. How about that?
Yes, I understand, Georgie. It would be very helpful for you to see the actual and hear the actual video so that you know if your students would benefit from that. So Beth's gonna get that going. So do you teach ESL classes, I'm assuming?
I don't, but I know a couple of people who do, so I wanted to share this with them.
Yes, that would be wonderful. I will say that we have used it here in my library in an ESL class and it went rather well. There were some vocabulary words that were a little bit on the trickier side in some of them, but it went very well and the videos were very well received by our ESL students.
We also did a presentation for First Literacy Massachusetts, which was all adult education and ESL providers. And they were very enthusiastic about its use with ESL classes and could see, and GED, high school equivalency diploma classes, they could see adapting it for those populations very easily.
Thank you.
I have another question
Sure.
about the TMT itself. You talked about how there is some reading meant for younger children that is part of each TMT unit or whatever you want me to call it. But they also have resources that you can check out from the library, whatever for the appropriate age. When you talk about the books that are part of the TMT, are those digitally part of it? Like, are they on screen or how do you get the
So
book?
any of the materials in the TMT, like that's in there, is digital, and you would see that.
Great.
Any
Great.
additional materials are at the end
At the
will be
library.
recommended
Great.
physical books that you can check out from the library.
Very good.
And we've
Very
tried to
good.
curate them by age group,
Yes.
appropriateness
I
based on.
understood that. This is perfect. I can't wait. I'm so happy I joined
I'm
this
so
today.
glad.
I'm not sure what you said, Kristen, because I was playing with the video. But I'm sure, if you go to a site like Unite for Literacy or something, you can probably, and put in the topic, you could probably find something similar that is an online free resource. It wouldn't be the same necessarily, but there might be something digitally.
Beth, do you want me to share the video? Do you want me to try?
I am ready.
Oh, you are? Okay.
I am ready. Okay, so here we go. So I sure hope you can hear it. All right, here we go.
Blocking sources of light can create different types of shadows. Now let's step into the light lab and do some experiments with different objects to see what kind of shadows we can make.
The first object we're going to use is a plastic clipboard. I can see my hand right through the clipboard. Most light is passing through it. If I hold it in front of my light source like this, it doesn't make much of a shadow. Objects like this that let almost all light through are called transparent.
Our next object is this plastic lid. Now this plastic lid may look transparent like the clipboard before it, but you'll notice if I put my hand behind it how much more difficult it is for you to see my hand through it. Objects like this are called translucent. Translucent means that some of the light can pass through, but not all of it. Translucent objects leave a shadow like this. You can see that the inside of the shadow is kind of light. Some of the light is passing through, but some of it is being black. If I hold the plastic lid up to the light, it will dim the entire surface. If I hold it closer down like this, you can see the sharp outline of a translucent object, while still letting some of the light come through in the middle. The last object we're going to use are unit cubes. Now you can already tell from the shadow in the background here that this object doesn't let any light pass through. The closer I get to the surface, the darker my shadow gets. But if I put it in front of my light source, it will completely block out all the light. An object that doesn't let any light through like this is called opaque. These objects make very solid shadows like the one you see here. Take a look at our three objects again. We have our opaque unit cubes, our transparent clipboard, and our translucent plastic top. Take a look at the shadows they make. Our transparent clipboard lets the most light through and barely makes any shadow. Our translucent plastic lid makes a little bit of a shadow, but you can still see the light through it. And our opaque unit cubes make a really dark shadow, blocking all the light out. As sunlight comes down.
All right, that's shows that. I also wanted to show, I'm going to go back up here, that one of the activities, which is really another way to reinforce the learning, is to practice with objects that you can gather or at home, and you can do it in a program, or they can go home and do it to practice using these words and what it all is. So that's pretty fun. So I can show another video if you want, but I don't know what other questions we have. Let me know.
Beth, George asked, the resource was Unite for Literacy, right? That you mentioned?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so I put it in the chat. I just wanted to make
Yes.
sure that was what you had said.
Thank you.
And does anybody feel that there's any specific part of the TMT that is more relevant to their work, whether it be the videos or the artifacts or the extension activities? Any feedback on that?
I had a couple of people in mind who could use that videos for what I described in my question. That is good. I do not know about the other videos, but in this particular one, he was speaking a little too fast for the audience that I was thinking of. Yeah.
You could always pause them for your audience, right? And then, do a check. Did they understand it? Or do pre-work with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I would do it with an ESL class. I'd do a lot of pre-work with the vocabulary, then have them listen to portions of it, stop it, check for understanding. Because a lot of the videos do have like segments where you can stop easily.
And they're not all made by the same company. So some, yes, some might
Yeah.
be a little bit faster than others, but some are easier to understand. But that's,
Right.
those are complicated words. So my suggestion would be to kind of go through the TMTs and see what videos work the best.
Yeah,
So
because I just know from myself from looking through them all that it's also just some of the actors and the people in it speak faster or slower. So some of the themes might be better than others for that.
Yeah.
So these toolkits are available from any part of the world, free of cost. You just have to, before the Zoom, I tried to look at it, but I didn't have the time, so I did not proceed. But do I need any password or anything? Do I have to register?
Nope, they're all free. On that website, they're all free. You can make your own, but those SIG12 are available. It's all free. It's lovely.
I just dropped the link again in the chat.
Did you? Okay.
Yep.
So and I've never done this, but I was just looking this up in response to your question. You can slow down the playback speed of YouTube videos. So that might be good for adult ESL.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Or maybe one of you could leave your email address just in case I have any follow-up questions like the ones I just asked.
We have them listed at the end, at the last slide. We'll leave it up there for a bit so you can. And I believe the slides will be posted on the Media Labs, their website.
Okay.
Or you can contact us and we'll send them to you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Either way.
Thank you.
Okay.
So you are from where? You are from which institution?
Penn
Are
State.
you all from the same institution, or Beth, Kristen, and Esther?
Carol, Beth, and Esther are from the same institution, and Kristen's from Family Place Library. So
Okay.
Carol, Beth, and Esther are from Penn State, the Goodling Institute.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
think we have one more slide, and yeah, I think we wanted to know if we kind of did the reflections, right? If anyone was interested in learning how to build the TMTs, there's a possibility that we could do another webinar or learning more about the evaluation piece. So we wanted to know that, and if you are, you could send us an email,
Okay.
and we could all put our emails in the chat.
Here they are.
Oh, there they
Two.
are. Okay, last slide.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I think
Message everyone blank. Alt plus Shift plus E.
We will keep an eye on the chat in case any questions come up, and we have the Zoom room until 1 if anyone wants to stay on and ask any questions. But I just wanted to say a huge thank you to our guests and experts for sharing this valuable information. And thanks to all of you who joined us today. As they mentioned,
TRL
the
plus
slides
10%.
and the resources will both be posted to the Media Education Lab website, so you can keep an eye out for that. And as always, take a look at the Media Education Lab website, which I'll put in the chat to see other events like this one that are coming up. And once again, thanks everyone for joining us today. We hope you learned something and enjoyed this time together. And